Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. This is Orphan Last, aka Skylar Madison, and today I have a video that's a little bit weird. At least for me, it's weird. I'm going to be using Blender to model a Spire, which is kind of important towards the tail end of what's going to be eventually the first issue of the Galactic Ring. And the Galactic Ring is a Creative Commons comic book that I'm working on. If you'd like to have this 3D model, or actually, I don't think I want to share this 3D model. I think I'm just going to keep it to myself for right now. I might actually wind up revisiting this one later on down the road and maybe fixing or completely replacing little portions of it, as well as troubleshooting how to do something specific. But anyhow, if you'd like any of the 3D models that I've successfully made for the Galactic Ring, you can go ahead and download them for free on my Discord server. A link to my Discord server is in the video description below. So, I spent Monday and Tuesday actually working on a sci-fi corridor, and that is what this video was supposed to be about. The problem is that I wound up running into an issue that I never actually figured out a solution for. I wound up actually sidestepping it. And the issue was applying one array that works on multiple objects. That right there wound up making me kind of confused as to what the logic of Blender is. And so I made a whole bunch of really stupid decisions, such as using the Control J function and joining objects into one object can be really problematic for a model. For example, like if you have multiple arrays applied to a variety of different objects composing one object. Like take a car, for example. It's one object, but there's thousands of different parts to it. And so, if you were to join them all into one object, that could, in theory, cause a bunch of problems. If you were to be modeling a car inside of 3D software, and you were to model each and every single part, every single screw, every single bolt, every single part of the engine, if you were to press Control J, it could potentially make everything a complete and total mess, especially if you have all these different types of modifiers that haven't been applied and such like that, even though you thought they might have been applied. I wound up running into that issue with the sci-fi corridor, and everything just kind of fell apart, and I couldn't figure out a way to separate these different parts in order for me to fix it. And it seemed like parts of the model just kind of deleted themselves, and so I wound up in this situation where I was like, okay, well, I just need to completely delete this and start from scratch, or delete this and come up with something completely different. And I kind of spent the night on Tuesday, as I was kind of drifting off to sleep, thinking, it's not the worst thing in the world. That corridor, it wound up looking pretty good. However, it really didn't look like a corridor that belonged to the civilization that it's supposed to be pertaining to inside of the Galactic Ring. So it's not the end of the world that things didn't turn out the way that I wanted them to. And so I decided to just work on this Spire, which, again, actually, just to kind of clarify for those of you that have been following my channel for a while, there was a while back where I was doing a lot of cross-hatching with my illustrations and such like that, and I wound up making this sci-fi image where there's these two people with these electro blades fighting it out, and in the background there was this giant spire, and it had this orb that was just kind of shooting out electricity every which direction. It's one of my best pictures that I've ever made, bar none. Like, it's definitely one of my best. And so I've been kind of looking forward to making this specific object, but one of the issues was there are some organic shapes to this. It's not just a box or a perfect cylinder or something like that. There's some complexity to this shape, and I want there to be a spiral staircase that kind of candy canes its way up there, kind of corkscrews its way up there, but conforming to the shape, hugging it and such like that. And my first attempt was manually creating each vertice and snapping it to faces of this model, and playing around with the handles to try to get it to conform to the shape perfectly. And then I created just this basic kind of L-shaped shape and applied it to the curve, and it successfully spiraled all the way up, which is great. However, there are some crevices to this shape, and in some areas where those crevices are in relationship to the curve that I created, it looked just fine. But in other areas, it looked identical to the areas that looked fine, and yet it just did this wonky behavior, and it just didn't look right. So I wound up actually just deleting it, even though it took me like 45 minutes to create that curve spiraling, corkscrewing up the entire structure. And it doesn't matter how long you've spent on something. If it looks like garbage, it's garbage. That's just, like, there's no debating it. There's nothing else to discuss about it. If something is crap, it's crap. And so that's kind of the issue that I ran into there. So I tried something else eventually. I actually wound up... HardOps has this spring that you're able to just click, and then all of a sudden you have a spring. And that spring is really cool. However, it was going the wrong direction. But I played around with it, and it gave me a couple of ideas, but it ultimately I wound up kind of scrapping that idea. So when the video is all said and done, I have everything finished except for that spiral staircase. Well, sort of finished. There's parts of it that I kind of want to delete and completely reconstruct, but it's fine if things aren't absolutely perfect. Like I said, I don't really think I'm going to be sharing this particular model with the audience. I'm going to be revisiting this model a little bit further down the road, especially when I feel like I've got a little bit more confidence on what the hell I'm doing. But anyhow, so I think what I'm going to do in order to create that spiral staircase is I definitely need to have a curve, is what I need. But the way I created the curve, manually dealing with the handles and all that, I think it was just too much. So I think I'm going to use something that's kind of similar to a retopology workflow, where you're kind of snapping faces to the existing mesh and stuff like that, and having that spiral all the way up, and then deleting all of the edges except for one edge loop that spirals all the way down. And what I'm thinking I'm going to do with that is I think I'm just going to I think I'm just going to convert that to being a curve and seeing if that works better. And I really hope it does. Otherwise, I'm kind of at a loss as to what I should do. But, you know... you sometimes just have to experiment with a piece of software. You have to create something a little bit more daunting and stuff like that. If you're not challenging yourself at least to some degree, then you're not learning. And so you're going to have failures, you're going to have successes, you're going to have something that's kind of like what the content of this video is, where it's not really so much of a success and it's not really so much of a failure. But it's just something that you don't really want to share with anyone. It's just something that you want to keep to yourself, and maybe tackle that same project later on down the road. But a little bit of news about some stuff that's going on with me, my channel, and stuff like that. And something brief. I think I might have picked up a few commissions, and so I might wind up making some videos with me working on some commissions here. I know that one of the commissions is me drawing a spider. Another one is possibly a lion. I don't really have too much practice drawing these sorts of creatures, but you know, it is what it is. It's kind of cool. It's work, it's money, it's extra cash in my pocket, above and beyond what my day job brings me, and so I'm grateful for that, and happy that someone's considering me in creating a work of art for them and all that good stuff. But yeah, ultimately, throughout the course of this video and its content, I wound up kind of being a little bit baffled, because when I was working on the sci-fi corridor, the thing that wound up causing a lot of problems was the non-destructive workflow. 90% of the time, the non-destructive workflow is awesome because it's very forgiving. It allows you to do all sorts of really cool things. You're able to kind of reconstruct the entire mesh on the fly at any moment in time. And I love that. I think that's the coolest thing ever. However, when you need to start applying modifiers to multiple objects, or a modifier to multiple objects, it seems like a mirror modifier seems to be really easy to apply to multiple objects, but like if it's an array or something like that, a radial array even, it just gets to being really confusing. I don't know. I type in how to apply an array to multiple objects inside of Blender, and I'm not coming up with anything. And what that normally means is there is some sort of jargon that pertains to 3D software, or to that particular software rather, that I don't know. When I was learning Photoshop for the very first time, that's something that I ran into pretty frequently. I knew exactly what it was that I was trying to accomplish, but when I would type in a description of what it was that I was trying to accomplish, I would get no search results. But the second that I learned the actual jargon that is centered around the particular field of work that that piece of software is typically oriented around, that's when everything just magically started to work out for me. And so I'm thinking that's pretty much the sort of issue that I'm running into with Blender and such like that. Yeah. Right now you kind of sort of see me kind of trying to refine the mesh a little bit, trying to get rid of little problems, while at the same time simultaneously trying to troubleshoot little prototypes on how I could make this spiral staircase. And you see throughout the course of this footage, if you pay attention, you can see just different things that I'm doing, little things that I'm playing around with, experimenting with, and yeah, it is what it is, and it's fine. This is my final prototype, at least for the footage. Like I said, I wound up not having enough time to create the spiral staircase, but this little prototype worked okay. I know that you can apply multiple different objects to one curve, and so maybe I might be able to use that to my benefit. Here's the final version of it. I wound up actually using a dice operation after I joined one of those organic mounds to the main structure, and so the organic round perfect smoothness of it kind of disappeared, and you can see that it got all angular, and that's something that I need to fix, or maybe I just need to completely remodel this at a later date. I don't know, we'll have to see, but I do like it. Anyways, guys, that pretty much concludes it for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And if you guys would like to get more notifications from me, feel free to join my Discord. If you'd like to support this channel, there's an image of a t-shirt in the upper right corner of the screen. Any support with the purchase of a t-shirt would be much appreciated. And if you've enjoyed this content and would like to see more, feel free to click on anything else that's appearing on the screen right now. Thank you very much for your time.